Hello, this is Deborah Anderson, the BlkWmnAnimator, coming back to you with another video. In this video, I have Tony Barnes. Welcome. Will you do a little introduction of yourself?
Hi, I'm Tony Barnes, video game maker for, like the past 35 years. Let's see, I do code, I do art, 2D, 3D, made some franchises that people may and may not know, like the Strike series and Madden and Legacy of Kain and Strider and Medal of Honor and I don't know. Yeah. So a lot of games, 35 years,
Mm-hmm.
primarily as a what's known as like a design director. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that's the quick and dirty. If you want more, you'll
Mm-hmm.
have to ask and find out.
Okay. So let's start off with where you're from and how was it growing up?
So born and raised San Francisco, from the Bay. The city, as New Yorkers don't like to let us have that, but it's the city to me. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, uh, typical super poor kid growing up. I was like, um, I was like, kind of typical kid in the well, I wouldn't say 80s, but it was like, towards the late 70s, early 80s,
Mm-hmm.
they start putting video games in and around. And I'm just like any other kid, saw Space Invaders and was like, damn. So played
Mm-hmm.
them, whenever I could steal a quarter or, sell some newspapers or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
then eventually they started putting computers in schools. Being in the Bay Area, I think it
Mm-hmm.
happened there a lot sooner than most places, because we had some alumni who actually who had gone to like my junior high, and they went off and worked at Apple, or they were working at like ILM or something. So I was exposed to Apple computers and video editing decks and all kinds of stuff quite early.
Mm-hmm.
And since I actually, while growing up, I started drawing rather early also, and would do comic books and all this kind of fun stuff, and then started doing stop motion animation and hand drawings, classic 2D onion skin kind of stuff. And so when
Mm-hmm.
the computers came along, um, our teachers didn't really know like what to do with them because they were just like super new, and there was no, outside of Oregon
Yeah.
Trail, there really was no,
Yes, Oregon
nothing for
Trail.
them. Yeah. So they just like kind of threw them at the kids, and I learned how to move pixels across the screen. And I was like, this is great. This is a million times faster than dealing with clay or Legos or any of the other things I was doing stop motion with. And I don't need a whole big committee of people to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like, when I was like 12, that was really the intro into it, was actually hoping to move pixels to like animate.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, it was especially at that time, it was easier to make a game than to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just like make little like Pac-Man kind of things or Space Invader kind of things, and then all of a sudden this nerdy little poor kid, everybody in the school is like, oh, Tony knows how to make a game. The next thing
Mm-hmm.
I know, the kids are giving me their lunch money to make them a game in class, and then hand
Nice.
hand them a disc and all that. And so then I had lunch money, which was really good because, like I mentioned, I was poor, so we didn't have a whole lot. When it came to lunch, all of a sudden I could eat at the commissary instead of, the free
Yeah.
lunch. I mean,
You're
granted,
a regular old entrepreneur.
yep, I was rolling it. So that's kind of how it started. I was 12,
Mhm.
but professionally it was 15, because there was this company in and like you know, it's kind of like with these companies, especially back then, you kind of felt like you knew them, or like I
Mhm.
don't know, they felt a little more accommodating than just big corporation that's trying to, you know, milk me for money.
Right.
So so it was, you know, I see the game quality go down from this company Antic, and they
Mhm.
were mainly Atari stuff. And I was just like, oh, I feel really bad for them. Um, I should, because I looked at like the address, you know, the address on the manual, and it was, you know, so it was downtown San Francisco, and I lived on the other side of town. But you know, what's a 3 mile walk? You know, it's no biggie. Uh,
Right.
so I made some games, and actually the the first game, this game that I made, like I actually had made it by writing on binder paper,
Mhm.
and because I didn't have my own computer. So, like,
Right.
you know, it was the apples at school, but Antic was an Atari company, or Atari, you know, centric publisher and magazine. And my friend had an Atari, and
Mhm.
you know, so I got to see all those cool games and everything, and play them over his house. And then, you know, I'd see these magazines and I drool over them the same way I would over like a J.C. Penney's toy section of the catalog. You know, I just like, so he would give me the magazines, right? So
Mhm.
that's why I saw that the submissions went kind of south. And so I would go over his house with my binder paper and
Mhm.
type in my game, and then, you know, have him and his brother play it and test it and all that fun stuff.
Mhm.
And then so one of those games I made, you know, over this dude's house, is one of the games that so I kind of skipped over that, but I literally walked the disc into this place in downtown San Francisco, and they were kind of
Mhm.
like, okay, and just kind of took it.
Uh-huh.
So that is how I professionally got into the biz, because
Nice.
you know, before that, I would say it was, you know, amateur, or I guess what we call indie nowadays or whatever.
Mhm.
The fun side note to all that, you know, the friend, he was more of a frenemy. Um, he was like, you know, the Cartman of the neighborhood. You
Yeah.
know, he had everything, and just thought that everybody else that wasn't, you know, wasn't all up on everything like him, you know, clearly they're deficient. So,
Mhm.
you know, he's kind of a jerk. Sorry, I'm trying to avoid you getting that MA, TVMA or whatever rating. But yeah, actually, dude said to me, um, when I was making games, you know, over his house and all that fun stuff, he was saying, you know, I don't know why you keep doing and making these silly little games. You're never going to make anything of yourself. You know, you don't even have a father. And
Oh,
I was,
snap.
oh yeah, um, because he had the, you know, nice little nuclear family. He had
Mhm.
his little brother, and his mother and father worked and all that. So I guess they were like, yeah, he just thought he was the man, and that's the way it was.
Mhm.
And no, no, he wasn't white. He was actually Filipino, just in case you're wondering. But like, so uh, I'm gonna jump around a little here, but yeah,
Mhm.
those little games. So fast forward a few years later, and I had eventually worked at Electronic Arts,
Mhm.
and uh, so then um, I had this car, 68 GTO,
Mhm.
quite cherry, and I took one of the few bonus checks I've ever seen in my career, and painted the car, right,
Mhm.
fixed it up and all that fun stuff. And so I was going to get gas. I'm at the gas station. Who do I see? I see Buen Ortiz, Mister. You're not going to make anything of himself, and he's a petroleum expediter. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, you know, I'm not really working here, even though I'm in overalls and they have my name here. And it's like, what, is this your car? I'm like, yeah, that's my car. And he's like,
Mhm.
how'd you get this car? And I handed him my card from Electronic Arts and said, oh, yeah, I make video games now.
Yes.
Sorry. So
Sweet, sweet revenge.
karma does happen. I don't think in the past 35 years that he has ever made a game and made anything that anybody cared about. Just saying.
Mhm.
But
Just say it.
sorry. See, I told you, you can get some truth out of me if you just ask.
So what were some of the stop motion like in like 2D? What were some of your themes or your projects?
Oh, back in those days, I mean, yeah, I understand. Well, this is way back. I mean, not super way back, but it's way back.
Mhm.
Like when I was growing up, there, there were these great animators, and of course, I grew up and was enamored with Ray Harryhausen and all
Mhm.
of the stop motion. So, and then like Peter Gabriel had
Mhm.
videos that had stop motion in it. So even though I had been drawing before, and kind of, I still somewhere around here have How to Draw the Marvel Way, that book.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, I draw like superhero anatomy, which is why I don't draw characters anymore, and do things like animate balls, flip books and all that, and
Yeah.
kind of relatively simple animations. Although some,
Mhm.
some of them were interesting in kind of a Plimpton kind of way, but like this uh the stop motion was great because um, it was something where whatever you had was kind of tangible. There was a
Mhm.
tactile feel to it. So um, and I it was a world in a world without an undo.
Yeah.
um,
Oh yeah.
even even clay had enough malleability that you could go like do something, and then like if you had like a beta deck where you see through the camera and then you could push a button and see the previous frame, so I could
Mhm.
like compare and go back and forth. That kind of tactileness I really liked, because I
Yeah.
like being able to iterate on it versus drawing and looking and then being like, I'm an idiot because I put too much line weight on here, so I'm not containing the volume. With
Yeah.
with like Legos or action figures or whatever, it was just more my speed. Uh,
Yeah.
and so like, I'm a 11, 12-year-old kid, so my themes are um, random skirmish for no good reason between Star Wars and GI Joe figures, or breakdancing clay guy. Um,
Nice.
you know, uh, these are the kind of things that you do when you're 11 and 12 in the 80s. Uh, Alien versus Kraken, which actually would probably be a cool movie, but um,
Mhm.
yeah, and they were short. I mean, like yeah, 90 seconds or so,
Mhm.
maybe a minute or maybe 2 minutes, um, and on 8 millimeter.
Yeah.
So good times. And back in
Good
those
times. Good times.
editing was fun too. Like the whole, you'd have the reels, you'd have you'd have your blade, and you'd have your glue, and all, like it was
Mhm.
the whole nine back then. There was no video editing that I had access to.
Yeah.
Like the most sophisticated thing I had was um, someone had donated a beta deck, and then we realized that you could, with this button, see what was just the frame before that was
Mhm.
just recorded before you click to record the next frame. That was as sophisticated as it got, and that was later. By that time, um, I had kind of transitioned into game making
Yeah.
and away from animating and comic book drawing. And dungeon mastering, and because it all came together on the screen.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
all of the extras I was doing just kind of fell by the wayside, or actually they fell into my little career here.
Yeah, luckily, I went to school in upstate New York, Rochester Institute of Technology, and so we got to work with Bolex, so I kind of know a little bit about, the film and splicing and all that type of
Hmm.
stuff because we did that our first quarter. I don't think it went into the second quarter of our freshman year, but yeah, first quarter we had to shoot films with Bolex cameras. So,
Mm.
were your was your mom supportive of your aspirations?
Um, so my mother was uh, very practical.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she um, like I got a drafting table at age 8. It was like, oh, you're going to be an architect because you draw. So
Mm-hmm.
everything was focused on that. It's like you like drawing, you like building. You're gonna do that. You're gonna have hard skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had told her at one point, one of the every once in a while we'd have this, oh, are you gonna get a real job kind of conversations, even though I'd been doing video games for 5 years and 10 years, and I said, Ma, I'm in the entertainment business, and she's like, you don't dance, you don't sing, you ain't no Smokey Robinson. So what do you mean? And
Cruising.
yeah, yeah, I always thought it was more Billy D, but I don't act either. So, but like, uh, I was like, no, I entertain people. And she's like, whatever. But she eventually, I mean, she always accepted it as a job. She just never thought it was a career, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's like the way they used to think of rap. It's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess it's some sort of music that's here right now, but it's really fad, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it wasn't a fad. It's
Mm-hmm.
many, many, many billions of dollars, not in my pocket, but it I can put that next to my name. Made billions for other people. Um, you know, it's definitely been a career. But yeah, at first it was just like, I let me correct that actually, because um, like I said, we were dirt poor, and
Mm-hmm.
I had to go over dude's house, to beg time to work with him and all that. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I she did actually support me in the sense of she sent me to a summer camp. It was a computer camp. She was like, he's into these computers, and
Mm-hmm.
don't want him just hanging out on the street. So she worked with the church to get me in the summer camp,
Mm-hmm.
and the computer camp was cool. The programming didn't teach me anything because they were behind where I was on the curve, but it was
Mm-hmm.
good net. It was really good networking. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then um, you know I started selling, like I said, I was selling to, local kids, my own little games and all this stuff. And um, she had actually gotten me a computer. She had scrimped and saved to get me a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I used some of my money to get the drive because all these things were separate and all these things cost an arm and a leg. But so she got me, a computer to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, here, because you're into this and all this. Because again, it's like what you look at your child, you're like, what is their passion? Um,
Yeah.
she did her best, and she realized that unlike the Atari 2600, which she said, don't hook that up to my TV, it'll break it. But like unlike the 2600 where I'm just sitting there playing, that I was
Mm-hmm.
actually actively doing something with the
Yeah.
computer. Um, and so she was supportive in that, but then like I said, she never thought I'd be 30, 40 years deep into into doing it, or have my own company or something associated with video games. Come on.
Right.
Kids go outside to play.
Right, right, right.
Which, by the way,
Uh,
I did. It's only in recent years, not just because COVID, but it's only recently that I'm like, I don't need to go out. But like as a kid, eh, and maybe it's because we didn't have as much, not just the whole poor thing, but like we didn't have as many choices. Like right now, you
yeah.
have it. It's insane. Like there,
Mhm.
you're drowning in stuff to passively look at, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
and and so um but back then not so much, and so I still went out. I still went out and played,
Mhm.
even after getting my own computer. uh,
Yeah.
Kids
Yeah,
should do
even with
that too.
me, like even with me, because I played basketball, and so I think the WNBA came out when I was in middle school or high school. I can't remember, but I remember like trying to watch the game, them play. And I was like, I could just do this myself outside. So that's why
Right.
I never got into the WNBA. And then today I don't watch the NBA because they don't play defense. So it's not really basketball to me.
Yeah, it's
So
rollerball.
right, it's just like offense. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Uh, so you mentioned, Madden, Medal of Honor, Legacy of Kain, the Strike series, um, Buffy, Strider, and then the canceled Breakaway. What has been
Oh
your
yeah, that
journey?
too.
What has been your journey of like improved technology, graphics, and the like since the 90s? What changes have you seen throughout the years, for better or for worse?
What changes have I seen? All of them. I mean, seriously, like, so when I was just that little kid looking up at awe in awe at an arcade machine, it was Pong and Space Invaders,
Mhm.
and I distinctly remember black and white games. I
Yeah.
distinctly remember only like green and black on the Apple, or amber and black. I distinctly remember these the way that looked, the same way the next step into 8-bit, and the
Mhm.
refinement, with like NES kind of 8-bit, which had way more colors. I remember each step very distinctly because
Mhm.
um, they were they were each huge. Like
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's weird nowadays. People, maybe it's just because they're so jaded. They're just like, yeah. With each incremental change, it's like, eh. But back then, oh my God, look at it! Like we went from 2 colors to 4 to 16 to 256 colors. Like those colors
But I
and,
guess
and the
back in the
pixels.
day it was slower because things change so quickly. You can't even get excited about it, and there's a new thing.
Kind of, but I no, it was honestly, if you think about it, it's moved pretty fast. Like
Mhm.
so late 70s you had on off pixels, so 2-bit, and then you had um boom in color and resolution over what the next 10 years, 12,
Mhm.
15 years probably. So if we go from like uh 80 to 95, right?
Mhm.
Your resolution gets better, and it was noticeable. Each change was a lot more noticeable, even just
Mhm.
resolution and more colors. um, and then the jump from 2D to 3D to like real 3D
Mhm.
was huge, to the point where there's an entire generation of people that are super warm and fuzzy for the Nintendo 64. For me,
Mhm.
I I had already been exposed to 3D and 3D animation, and having access to like a lot of Amigas and stuff in the early days. So when the Nintendo 64 came around, I was just like, why is it so blurry? Why can't it look? I was used to ray tracing, even though it wasn't real time. It was still
Yeah.
like I understood that what the light quality should be like and kind of
Yeah.
things, and I wasn't seeing that. So the N64 skipped me. Even though I was actually still working, and I've done games on the N64,
Mhm.
and the PlayStation. I don't wanna seem like I'm biased, but it's like that 3D era. I look at it and I go, yeah, there's some because it became 3D, and it was huge and everybody talked about it, and it changed the way that you had to build stuff, what you could build, um, made it so it shook up things so that some people didn't make the shift, some people,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I remember looking and going, and holding on to 2D a little more longer
Yeah.
than jumping into it. But then by 3D second gen, we'll say whatever, PlayStation
Mhm.
2 and
Mhm.
Xbox, it's like, oh, now we can actually put texture on everything and it not just be a bleh, and we can actually uh, have it where the perspective is correct. So on the PlayStation, you see all this weird dancing going on, it's just weird stuff. All that kind of got smoothed out, and then I was like,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm back. All right, I'm all in on 3D. Let's do something.
Yeah.
Like every generation has brought something, that everyone's gotten excited about, except for
Mhm.
now. Like this current generation, um, I'm not
I'm
sure.
excited about Miles Morales Taper.
My friend's a creative director on that, and I
Mhm.
immediately told him. I said, "Oh, look at that! You guys did it right. You're trending. You got fans." Um,
Mhm.
and they, this is just like kind of secondhand conversations for between me and him, but it's like they took the time, right? But
Mhm.
it wasn't like I don't get the impression it was like, okay, let's sit down and have a company meeting. How are we going to make sure that the Black community really digs what we're putting on the screen? Um, it was more like we're doing Miles. Our look is not cartoony. We got to be real. You know
Mhm.
what? We might want to talk to some real people. So they reached out,
There's a
and
thought.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can tell you from being on the inside of these things, um, more often than not, the thought just doesn't even come to mind.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
I can believe it.
so you mentioned Breakaway. Um,
Mhm.
whilst working on that, so there's a wide range of characters. There was a little star chamber that worked on what characters were going to go in and out and all that fun stuff.
Mhm.
Unlike most of my projects for like a good span, like 25 years or something, I was not the HNIC on Breakaway. As a matter of fact, I I will come back, but anyway, I was not. So I was not the man on Breakaway. I was not in charge
Mhm.
of everything, but I kind
Mhm.
of did my thing, which is to kind of be involved with a whole lot of things. And one of them, I'm sitting there and I see this design for a black character that we had called Rollins,
Mhm.
and he, he's like supposed to be this black cowboy fighter guy.
Mhm.
You'll never guess what a black cowboy fighter would look like. Um, I mean, he literally looks like Django. Like all he's just Django, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, let's see. It's too late now because they already basically they're well past paper, well past
Yeah.
concept. It's already like first time I see them is in game, and I'm just like, or on somebody's screen, and I'm just like, okay, so on one hand, there's representation in
Right.
in a sea of not, there's some rep, all right, and he's not stereotypical anything. He was a solid character. Plus, I love the way he played, so I mained Rollins a lot, and they kept nerfing him because me and the only other black person on the team were really good with him. Surprise, they kept nerfing him, but so like I said, on the one hand, representation. But
Right.
on the other hand, it's like, yeah, he's not a pimp or a thug or a ball player. No offense to all my millions making ball players out there, but um, he was but he's Django. It's like you you just he that's somebody else's dude. That's the kind of stuff that happens, right? So
You're right.
everybody knows this that actually can Google. So I'm not saying anything that anybody doesn't know, but Breakaway went through some stuff, and then we kind of went about retooling certain things in the gameplay, and especially the look of certain characters that were a bit too generic. So Happy Django was, up for being redesigned. Go figure. So at this point, when I'm walking around looking, I see in the concept phase what they're proposing to make him into this kind of hell gunslinger thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. He's like Spawn. So we've gone from Django to Spawn because he was
Right.
straight up Spawn, except for you could actually see that he was black because like a lot of people don't want to accept that Spawn is black, and I'm like, he's got a mask on, but he's black. Like otherwise every character. I mean, then otherwise Deadpool's black, or I mean, like he's that's the guy that's underneath, right? So he's black, right? So don't hate on Spawn. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm off on a tangent, but so redesigning Rollins, and I see the concept. And like I say, it looked like Spawn. There was like hat, no hat. They decided no hat. And I look at the hair, and well, I look at the lack of hair. So they beefed him up. Basically, they took him from, one sort of archetype to another. So they said, okay, well, if we're going to beef him up, well, then he's got to be the big black bald dude, And I'm just like, oh my God, come on. And I literally said to the concept artist, I said, can you do me a favor and just Google black hair for me, please? And he looked, and I'm all, now if you look at a couple of pages of this, you tell me how many bald dudes showed up. And he goes, well, we Googled black hair. And I'm all, yeah, because black people have hair, and it's different, and it's all different. And I need a haircut right now, but we care about our hair. So and it's like the thing that you guys never ever get right or never care about. There's like, there's three bits of hair for you in the world, I guess. There's bald, afro, and I guess dreadlocks maybe. But really, you guys don't even know that there's various different locks. So anyway, so we had that conversation. And then he had some sketches with a whole bunch of different hair, but the powers that be were like, we don't want hair. So I said, okay, at least do this then. I'm going to give you a word. Look up the word fade. And so, so and I said, look at, like, because it was like a point where I'd actually had my hair right, and I said, see,
Mm-hmm.
the line, the line is important. Um, so the Rollins that got made actually he has like he has very tight taper, and his it's almost like blade like
Mm-hmm.
in the hairline, but it's like it's so sharp it would cut you. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, that that's a good compromise. Again, representation or not. So I'll take the
Yeah.
rep. But yeah, these are the conversations that had to go on before. I hope things are different now because there's been,
Mm-hmm.
or at least they're becoming different. Where because there's been enough light that maybe someone pauses and thinks, maybe I should ask someone. Maybe it'd be neat. Maybe I should ask someone who's like, Filipino or something. How would you have this character in here?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, hey, does anybody know a black woman? Because we don't have one in the studio. Can you find one? And I'm just like, so I actually have. I know a couple people that are consulting. They like
Nice.
look in um, and they go kind of yes, works, no, culturally insensitive, thank you,
Yeah.
and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because yeah, it's kind of needed, I think. I don't think
It
you
is.
need, yeah, I don't think you need to be like, unless you're doing something that's historically accurate or you're trying to portray something that would like a, like, like an Assassin's Creed, right? For
Mm-hmm.
some people, that's going to be their only history, as sad as that is, and that thing's
Yeah.
fictitious. And it kind of, if you're paying attention to that, it says we're fictitious, right? We have this whole animus thing and blah blah blah. Nah, there's a whole bunch of people that are going to roam around, and that's going to be their history lesson, right? So
Mm-hmm.
to me, something like Assassin's Creed should be, conscious of what it is that they're representing. Now,
Yeah.
Monster Hunter, whatever, dude. Yeah, I'm wearing the skin of a giant Tricera croca thing. I'm a Bobby, whatever. Just, it would be cool if you gave me a skin tone that's mine or close enough and gave me like some hair that I could do or not.
Mm-hmm.
But not going to make a break. But
Yeah.
rep would be nice. But I feel like something that's representing or trying to tread on history should really actually care about, and everybody should have some representation inside. Um,
Yeah, they show
and,
that care
and
with things like Game of Thrones, and they'll have like the this is the kilt design that they
yeah,
had, and but when it comes to black people, they're like, we'll wing it.
it's okay. What Gods of Egypt? That's a documentary. Oh man, I I just what did they just said? Gal Gadot, who I don't have anything against at all.
Hmm.
Uh, she's going to be playing Cleopatra, and I'm kind of like borderline. Like, really? I don't know. Really? I mean, at least not Liz Taylor. And I've seen Liz's movies. I like her. She was hanging with Michael towards the end, but Liz
we're
Taylor,
we're getting
Cleopatra, that is
closer and
insane.
closer and closer to the right thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's a step, but it's still. And I understand box office.
Wrong.
I understand how the machinery works, but I'm like, and then because I'm stupid, everything, every video, every meme, whatever, I roll down and kind of breeze past the comments because I'm stupid like that. And I look at some of the comments and I'm just like, you know what? It's just it's too early, and this doesn't matter to me. Scroll really fast. But yeah, like you're again, I feel like if you're representing something that's historical or will be mistaken as historical, can you
Yeah.
can you take that extra effort to try and get get the beats down right? I mean, if they said Gal Gadot starring in Stargate 2, then I'm like, oh, cool, whatever. She could be whoever because it's Stargate. It's clear it's not trying to rap, but
Yeah.
you just said Cleopatra, paching, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll see how this rolls. I mean, all bets are off. It's 2020, so
Yeah. So
you know.
can you list can you do a high level list of various roles that exist in the video game pipeline slash industry, particularly the lesser known roles, just so people out there know?
Interesting. Lesser known roles. Um,
Well, you know,
off
in
the,
the animation industry, everybody knows animators, but nothing
sure.
else.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the reason I say it's interesting is because I have to put myself into the mindset of somebody that doesn't know,
Right. Yeah.
which is going to
Hmm.
take a second to go. Yeah. But like, um, so there's where to start? We can start at the bottom, then we're here. Let's see. So there's QA, which I think most people know about QA and testing. Um,
Hmm.
that's your, those are the last people to touch the product really, because everything comes to them, and then they go, they try and break it,
Yeah.
and and if you have time and the stuff they're talking about is reasonable, then you hopefully fix it.
Hmm.
And you have let's see, God, there's so many moving parts. There's producers, which run the gamut from assistant up to executive. Um, producers have is a title, but it's different in different companies
Okay. Hmm.
at different times in their lifespans even. But let's take Electronic Arts for instance. So
Hmm.
EA has producers. Um, I'm not quite sure what exactly a producer does at this point. When I was at EA, producers we had producers in lieu. There was no one with a title designer. Um,
Hmm.
so a producer, especially the higher up on the food chain, was like the keeper of the vision and all that. But really, producers are more like they handle resources.
Hmm.
So they deal with money, they deal with time, they deal with how many bodies you have, things like that. So for me, that's what a solid producer does is
Hmm.
makes sure that you have or anybody on the team has what they need, and they block and they clear the path, and they also make sure that whoever's coming up from behind, we all move together. Here's the date.
Yeah.
Um,
One band, one sound.
right, right. So there's on the actual making assets production side, I guess there's artists. So
Hmm.
there's an artist, a wide band too. So there's um, like there's depending upon the game, but there's UI artists or UX designers that
Hmm.
happen to be artists. That's what's crazy now is like you actually will have a UX designer. So it's someone that knows look and feel, but they're not a I want to say they're not, I'm going to say it. They're not good enough artists. They're not as good as the artist, right?
Yeah.
So they've separated out those jobs now. So like you have someone that like is like okay, it flows like this, and it feels like that, and then there's someone that's doing the actual art. So and
Hmm.
all of these roles, it's crazy. Someone can actually straddle more than one of them. So
Mhm.
that's just like what I mentioned and what's going forward. Um, like you'll have UX and UI. Lord, you have on some games you have pixel artists
Mhm.
who are and even then, like you have some people that are just tile artists who are really good at
Mhm.
doing just like background stuff, but they're not like about characters. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes you have someone that's just amazing and does it all. Um,
Mhm.
and the same goes for 3D. It's like you have 3D modelers who model props and characters um, and various other knickknacks. Maybe they even just model 3D meshes for VFX because there's VFX
Mhm.
artists. Anyway, um, you have environment artists. Um,
Mhm.
Now they may model their own stuff and they may not. They may be, some people may try and use some derogatory terms saying that they're just set dressers, but
Mm.
it's a team effort. So whatever, like, so if somebody over here made a rock for me and I take it and I make a mountain,
Yeah.
you're still an artist, right?
Right.
So there's environment artists, there's character artists, there's VFX artists, and like I said, there's like in the sense of like VFX artists, there's uh, a lot of elements now. A lot
Mhm.
of VFX artists are combining two-dimensional and three-dimensional objects. Like they'll build their own object, and then some of them are also tech artists. Tech art
Mhm.
in video games are people who are into like shaders, and so sometimes they're lighters, but sometimes there's actually just a lighting artist. Um,
Yeah.
like, let's see. Um, I don't even did I probably missed somebody. Let's see, VFX characters
I
and
mean, you gave people a good
environments.
start.
And then there's design, and design is up from it changes from game to game and place to place too. But generally speaking, um, designer some some people think they're just idea guys, right? And
Mhm.
there's lots. There's If you want to break it down, it's 2020. There's lots wrong with that statement. The idea guy, right? Like
Mhm.
all of those words are wrong. So my favorite is also places I've worked at, and I've had executives say to me, "Well, everyone has ideas," and that's usually the time where I actually start updating my resume because for a great
Ah.
designer, sorry, like a great designer or a designer that's doing their
Mhm.
job, it's not just an idea person. It's not just and then therefore, yes, everyone has ideas, but they're not the designer. Designer is someone that is it's an artist, it's a craftsperson that is doing their part. So there's level designers, which kind of splits into two roles also. It's like there's level designers that are more art centric, kind of like the whole
Mhm.
set dressing thing I was talking about, and then they do layouts, and then there's designers that are more like almost like gameplay programmers where they're
Mhm.
doing scripting and stuff for like whatever happens in the world. There's narrative designers that work on dialogue and the story and beats and all that fun stuff. And there's like director, creative directors and design directors who are like a movie director. So
Mhm.
with the breadth of knowledge of what like how movie directors are, not everybody's Lynch or Cameron or Spielberg. There's I just named three luminaries, and they each have their own styles, right? And how much they
Yep.
are involved in something. And that's the same with designers, is that there's different styles and different levels of engagement. So, like me, um, I'm I'm kind of Cameron-like. I'm
Mhm.
very hands-on. Um, I'm the kind of person that if someone is not doing something the way that I want, then I'll just do it to say I want it like this. And
Mhm.
so, which can be off-putting for people. Like,
Mhm.
programmers have their own sacred little world where they are like, we're magicians. Nobody knows what we do. Ha ha. And and so they don't want the idea guy telling them how to code something, or
Mhm.
actually doing the code. Artists, everyone's not every person is, but everyone's got their own territory, and so they're kind of territorial. And then I kind of come in and I go, and I bleed all around. Some people some people appreciate that, and then others do not. Uh, but that's the kind of designer I am. Um,
I wonder what's the Venn diagram of ego and people who don't like that you know what they know.
it's it's
It's a circle.
yeah. There's all the yeah, the circle for ego is like, and like, yeah, the overlap there is gigantic. Because I try not to. There's no other way to put it. I try not to be a dick about it.
Mhm.
It's um, and I actually I like to listen and kind of synthesize what everybody's saying.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so a lot of times I'll let people just talk or whatever, and then, but I won't give them confirmation. I like, oh, that is amazing. I'm going to take that, right? Um, because it's not always like that. A lot of
Mhm.
times I'm listening and someone will just say something that's simply off the cuff, or they'll say something that's actually, in a binary world, it would be a no. It would be wrong, right? But when I
Mhm.
listen, I go, aha, I see what you want out of this, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I'm gonna take that feedback that you're giving me, or I'm gonna take that idea and I'm gonna bend it and synthesize it into the game. And so a lot of people just kind of need that binary confirmation, and they're not necessarily going to get it from me, because it's not always like that. It's
Mhm.
not. But I think when the end result comes out, a lot of people who worked for me, or worked with me, and um, they were kind of skeptical during the process. They were like, "Ah, now we get it. Okay,
Yeah.
hey, there's my thing," right?
Mhm.
Because that's the other part of it, is there's so many moving parts, and sometimes, your your different disciplines are compartmentalized,
Yeah.
that a lot of people can work on a game and not really see the game until it's almost done.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the fact that, a lot of times the way I work, um, I can see the game in my head. Like, I can poke
Mhm.
into it at any point. Someone says,
That's
"You are a
that's what you're supposed to do as a director.
yeah, yeah." You'd be amazed how many times that doesn't happen, though.
Mhm.
But it's got so I'll have it in my head, and a lot of it comes pouring out on paper. But in the
Mhm.
olden days, we used to generate, like Amazon killing, not the rainforest killing levels of paper. Luckily,
Mhm.
we don't do that anymore. So
Mhm.
I don't make 300 and 400 page documents anymore. I make
Mhm.
much smaller, much lighter documents that are, usually at the ready when someone needs it. It has the information that they need, but it isn't this giant thing that's super verbose, filled with all kinds of publisher pleasing pictures and whatnot. It's an
Mhm.
actual spec, that's like 3 pages instead of 15 or something, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so a lot of times people kind of got into this mode where they just don't even read, the documentation, because, a lot of the documentation that's done is, it's done for theater, or, like
Mm.
showed to the publisher or whatever, uh,
Yeah.
or to be honest, it's just poor. So a lot of team members don't read documentation that tells them what they should be doing. They kind of go off of instinct and look at the hard numbers and go, okay, I'm going to hit these hard numbers, right?
Mhm.
So for some people, while working on games. Um, they are just going through tasks and they don't even know they don't know where they're headed.
Yeah.
They don't know, um,
And how
and
it
then
relates to everything.
right, or it's just too big. You
Yeah.
know, I heard there's like 600 or 700 people or something on Destiny, which is one of my favorite games, by the way. Props to all
Mhm.
people work, props to all 6, 7, 800 people working on it. Uh, but man, how you gonna be employee 579 on something and really have an understanding of every part of it, right?
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
so you were talking about, the changes. Changes are not just like the pixels on the screen and whether it's 2 or
Yeah.
3D, but things like that are huge. But they're behind the scenes, and so I think
Right.
gamers and average people don't see it. But for us, us old farts who came from one man games up to, oh, I got a team of 9, um, to
Mhm.
90 to to 800. It's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So I remember tutoring this kid in 3D. And his parents got me to tutor him because kids think that because they play video games that they want to make video games. So I
Hmm.
related to people. It's like the animation industry's like I have access to a basketball and a hoop, so I'm going to the NBA. So like so what can parents do to ensure, like, to confirm that their kids are actually interested in video games before they waste money sending them to college or doing something else? Like, what can kids do now to see if they're actually interested in making them?
Now there's no better time than now,
Mhm.
because everyone, or most people have access, right? Um,
Mhm.
when I started, I learned, um, like I said, from the magazines, from just messing around. It go in the library. Remember those things? And
Yeah.
and so you couldn't just open up your laptop and type in, make Space Invaders or whatever, right? Uh,
Mhm.
so that bar of entry is gone. Um,
Mhm.
and I feel like not enough people are taking advantage of that. When this goes for anybody, somebody wanting to get into the biz, somebody going, I just want to make games for fun or whatever. The most important thing is to finish something. You want to show
Mhm.
somebody that you want to do it, then do it. Like, just get up and do it. So before before parents spend $1 on school, they should go and download a copy of Unity or Unreal, or even better, I think starting out is Scratch and
Mhm.
Construct, or whatever Yo-Yo Games is calling Game Maker, I think now. Um,
Mhm.
and those things are cheap or free, and you could, you know, have your kid sit down and go, okay, you want to make a game? Um, Go make something. Make me Space Invaders, right? And I
Mhm.
tell a lot of aspiring indies, and game, people that want to be game developers. I said, don't think you're going to magnum opus. That's the folly of everybody. Even
Yeah.
veteran triple A's are like, I'm going to go independent. I'm going to make this, right? Because they've been coddled by the machinery around them to give them
Yeah.
the idea that they know how it's done. Uh, Going through the process, from a start to finish, is invaluable, and doing that as soon as possible is even more invaluable. So don't look at World of Warcraft or Destiny or something like that to go, that's what I'm going to do. Don't magnum
Yeah.
opus. Go get yourself a copy of a free engine, and that's why I even said, like, Construct or Yo-Yo's Game Maker, whatever. Um,
Mhm.
and make Flappy Bird, make Space Invaders, make something that's simple so that you can
Mhm.
get it done. from end to end, and you will learn more. You will learn more than anything about making games by getting it done. You'll learn about yourself. You'll learn if you have it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you, over the past 3 decades, how many uh, parents and people I've had been like, oh, I want to make games. That's like fun. You get to play games all day. And I said, even testers don't get to play games all day, and that's their job. They have to
Right.
play. They have to play some seriously broken stuff all day, whether they like it or not. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not it's not all supercalifragisexy. It's work.
Yeah.
It's work. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
done with it, you look at that and you go, I made that, right?
Right.
And and again, there's no better time. You can distribute things so much easier now. So
Yeah.
you make your Pong, you make your Flappy Bird, and then you just go here. You give it to somebody, and there's going to be plenty of hate because that's the internet in 2020. But
Yeah.
you learn from the hate that's consistent and
Mm-hmm.
constructive. Somebody just says you suck. Well, yeah, that's not constructive. There's nothing to work
Right.
with from that, right? If someone said this game blows because it uses the E key instead of the space bar, right? Okay, fix that, right? Learn from that, fix that,
Yeah.
move on, and then take the praise and all that too, but don't let it go to your head. Even if you make the greatest, like whatever anybody thinks is the greatest game, don't let the praise go to your head, because it'll take your foot off the pedal, right?
Yeah.
And you won't be pushing to make yourself better for the next one.
Yeah,
So
I'm not a gamer, and my favorite game is Rock Band. But like I
nice.
play Phase 10 on my phone, and the coding is so frustrating because like I'm a very observant person, and then there's also reviews on the in the App Store that confirm what I'm saying. But there's sometimes where I'm going a round of cards and I'll put up a 8, and then they'll give me back a 8 when it's my turn again. I'm like, and then I'll put up a 7, and then they'll give me back a 7. I'm like, I see what you're doing. This is annoying. Stop doing that. Like, you don't want me to win. Or you can tell the computer, like the computer, you'll start a hand and the computer will get their hand immediately, and it's like, so you just don't want me to win. Like, like this like, I understand that I'm not gonna win every time, but just like make me think that I have a chance.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of the key things that a designer does, really. Like,
Hmm.
the illusion that you're going to win. um, I kind of equate it to fishing,
Yeah.
where it's like you let the reel out, you get a bite, and you're like, but you don't come in too much. Don't come in too much and too hard, because otherwise, snap the line. I.e., the player
Yeah.
will be like, psh. So that's I'm gonna put that just on the designer, because
Yeah.
showing the other thing is, you really, even if it's the simplest game, even if it's a game that looks like a spreadsheet, you don't want to show that it's a spreadsheet. You don't
Hmm.
want you don't want the player to feel like to see the artifice of the game underneath, because it takes
Yeah.
you out of it, right? Then you're just like, oh, okay, I see, like you said, I see what you did there, right? So
Yeah.
now you're not in the game. You're not playing the game. You're actually just kind of, it's at best it's a toy for you, right?
I'm just
Um,
waiting my turn at
yeah,
this point
it's
until you allow me to win.
yeah, it's just hand candy. It's like at best, but
Hmm.
more than likely it turns into a job. For a lot of
Hmm.
people, they'll play something, but they're so out of the experience that it's really just a job, not
Yeah.
having
And
fun,
then you
which
stop
is,
playing.
yeah. And
Because there's
it's
one section with the there's one section with the lightning where you could play, but then there's another section with the coins, and they make it seem like, oh, you're playing real people, but then you could still tell it's
mm,
the computer because they like
hmm
have take forever to take their turn. I'm like, it's not that difficult yet. Like, you're just like, oh, do this for 30 seconds. Like, can we? I don't even play the coin side because it's like these aren't real people. This is computer, and you try to make it seem like it's real people. And now I don't want to play this
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
See, see, you got pulled out of the matrix, and you're like, peace,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's like I said, that I put that on designer
Mhm.
because ultimately, to me, that's their job is to keep the players playing and immerse.
Yeah.
Uh, Whatever game it is, whether it's Tetris or whether it's Last of Us, your
Mhm.
job is to keep the player playing, to keep them sucked in, and it not to
Yeah.
turn into a job, not to turn into just rote work.
Yeah.
There are some people that enjoy that, um,
Yeah.
but those types of people who enjoy just kind of grinding and all that, those are usually your super hardcore people. Um,
Yeah.
and they had to play quite a bit to get to the point where they really started enjoying your little grind or turning their brain off and doing this robotic thing that you somehow slipped into. Um,
Mhm.
so for them, it's okay, but more than likely they had to go through all of your content several
Yeah.
times to get to that point, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, uh, that's fine. It works for them on that level, but
Mhm.
really it should work for everybody, and it should mostly keep your players engaged. But yeah, you're at that point where you're like, oh, like I said, it's just at best it's a toy for you, but
Yeah.
at first it just becomes a job. And then you're like, I got a job. I'm going to quit playing this job.
So let's hop into, you recently opened your studio Retro Ninja. What made you venture out on your own?
Um, yeah, I mean, uh, retroninja.com. Have fun, go there, check out everything. But like, I've been doing this a long time. My running joke was, I should be on my third failed company by now. Uh, the other thing is, out there in the wild, I used to have my own little motto or whatever that said, "I'm the biggest thing you've never heard of." And at some point, you're either gonna just accept that you're the biggest thing nobody's ever heard of, or you're gonna do something
Mhm.
about it, right?
Right.
Um, and I was sitting there kind of like, so in 2019, I got Jerry Lawson Lifetime Achievement Award,
Mhm.
and that was great.
Congratulations.
Thanks. As someone sitting there feeling like, I'm sitting there in the big machinery of Amazon, and I'm kind of feeling retired and feeling like I don't matter as yet another Black History Month rolls by and there's no mention of me, even though
Mhm.
I'm like Negro number 3 on the scene. But
Mhm.
um, you like I say, you either kind of give up or you don't. I'm not really the
Right.
type to give up. So I'm sitting there and I get this award, and I'm still humbled. Uh, I was sitting there taking stock in what I've done and just thinking, yeah, and nobody knows. Um, and most importantly, the nobody that know are kids like me when I was growing up, right? I mean,
Mhm.
uh, and I just sit and think, what would it be like if I had, someone like me as part of that first group of people that I looked at, like the Steve Cartwrights and all these people that, did all these early Atari games and stuff. What if there was somebody that looked like me? Or
Right.
even not then, what if there was somebody um, that looked like me, 20 years ago, 10 years ago,
Mhm. Mhm.
5 years ago? Like,
Mhm.
there's no there's nobody that looks like us out there, that's like, yeah, I do this I do this at this level, and I've been
Mhm.
doing this forever. So I sat and said, you know what, this is ridiculous.
Mhm.
I need to be out there. And big companies, big companies aren't about pushing people. They're about pushing
Right.
brands. And I
Right.
mean, it makes sense. So they're pushing their brand and they push other people down. So I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what? The only way that I'm ever going to get any recognition is if I'm out there. And a friend of mine, John Manley, he was the co-designer of the Strike series. Um,
Mhm.
Great guy, and he said it. He said it years ago. He said, no one's ever gonna put us on,
Right.
and he's the demo. He's no white guy that looks like Steven Spielberg, but he even knew. He was like, in these companies, they're not gonna put us on.
Mhm.
You got to go out and get your own, and have your own company and have control over all that.
Yeah.
So I thought, um, the type of games that I want to make, the type of games I'm really good at, aren't the type of games that most companies want to make. I'm
Mhm.
seeing the indie scene and the distribution and all this. And I'm seeing actually in the indie scene games, I'm like, oh, I should have made that. Um,
Yeah.
and then like I said, the recognition is part of it, but more the visibility, the fact that like yeah, um, talking to talking to kids at GDC and them going, man, it, you worked on a game from my childhood, and if I had
Mhm.
known, then I would have started in games earlier, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, if if I was out there and people knew, they would have
Right.
started in games earlier. And that's
Mhm.
really the thing. Like, for our people, the stereotype is like, oh, okay, you're gonna be like, you're gonna be like a rapper, or you're gonna be, a
Yeah.
ball player and all that stuff. And again, no slight, these are things I actually wish I could do. I
Yeah.
I know how I have vocabulary, I know how to rhyme. I do not
Mhm.
have swag. I cannot do that. I understand the mechanics of playing, all sorts of things, but
Yeah.
I'm I was never good at them. So, you know, not hating, but what I'm saying is, for our people, there's a
Mhm.
broad spectrum of things that we can do, but we don't think to go for it because we don't see ourselves in it.
Yeah.
And so if when you see yourself, you see some sort of sign down the road, light,
Yeah.
you know to go for it.
A
So I'm like,
goalpost.
yeah. And so I'm like, you know what? There's a ton of blurs. Like, we're
Mhm.
we're on the up now. I used to be alone back in the day. Oh,
Yeah.
you watch that Robotech stuff. Oh, you a nerd. But now, now it's all
It's a whole
casual.
communities.
I know. And yet I still see people who are like, oh, that's not for me. That couldn't be for me. How am I going to do that? So that's, these things all kind of came together to help push me to form Retro Ninja, because like, okay, I can be out there. I can let people know that,
Mhm.
there's a goalpost, and then I can also, hopefully, make enough money to keep doing this for a while and make the kind of games that I like to play, which are, kind of, action and arcadey and adventure-y and all that.
Yeah.
They're not super casual, but they're not big, giant. It's not God of War or even Miles.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's run die run again. It's a platformer that's out to kill you. It's a
Yeah.
super colorful arcadey thing. The next thing will probably be, I don't know, my own Afro tech version of Strider or something, probably, or
Mhm.
or something like that. These are the kind of things that I like to play, and I think I'm really good at making. And so I figure I'll do that. Let people know that we're out there. We've been out there.
Mhm.
The other the other last part of it is, besides, I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know how, I don't even have to say like I'm gonna rap, um, because
Yeah.
uh, but I am saying it because that wasn't the last thing. But I'm gonna say it. But it should go without saying. I'm gonna rap, and the reason it's not you know, well, he's black and it's popular now. No,
Mhm.
I'm I'm black, and again, I like to I like to see somebody that's like me, right? Um,
Right.
real quick. So growing up, all you millennials, you're lucky. Just letting you know. Just Gen Xers not as lucky, and people behind me definitely not as
Mhm.
lucky. But like you guys had, everything in the '90s, man. Like, you know, you had I won't say just Urkel, but you had like you had Fresh Prince, you had Martin, you had Living Single. There was a pretty wide spectrum of what was on
We were
TV as
blessed.
far as black representation. For a hot minute there, it was like everywhere, and so you guys grew up like that. Like I I did not. When I
Mhm.
was growing up, we had What's Happening, and That's My Mama. Um, and then a little later, like basically when you're sitting there on like a conference line, because that's the way we used to do it back in the day, talking with people from school and all that, and they're like, oh, what do you look like? And everybody always going to point to something popular on TV.
Mhm.
I did not have anyone popular to point to that I really look like. Like I'd
Mhm.
say, well, kind of like Billy D, but I don't have a mustache and he's darker. Kind of like Tubbs from Miami Vice, but he's heavier and got rounder features. There was one. There was one thing that came out that I could go. I look like that guy, which is the Last Dragon. So when I was younger, I look like
Bruce
dude from
Leroy.
Last Dragon, Bruce Leroy, except for, and as my wife will always point out, you have never been built like that. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But the face, like, I could finally point and say, like, I look like that guy, right?
Uh-huh.
That's it. That's it.
Mhm.
Um, so bringing it back, Retro Ninja, gonna rep. Why? Because I want to do my part to make sure that people can go. I found a character that looks like me, or kind of
Mhm.
like me, or close enough like me, or somebody I want to be cosplaying, and not
Yeah.
get static, and not get a prefix, the
Right.
Black Wonder
The
Woman,
black.
like
Yeah.
that, right? So I'm gonna have my international cast, and I'm gonna make sure their hair
Mhm.
is right. And then the last
And,
thing is really that there's longevity, because in
yeah.
this business, people call themselves a veteran after 10 years, and then some of them don't even make it that long and they bounce. Um,
Yeah.
and that's a shame. So I'm like, I'm 35 and counting, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't intend on stopping anytime soon.
Mhm.
So for everybody, black, white, purple, and green, there
Mhm.
there there is longevity in this business. You
Mhm.
you just kind of have to stick it out, and you gotta find the places that are right for you.
Yeah.
There's enough going on and going around where, kind of like a relationship, somebody treating you bad, you're like, hey, let's have a talk. You're treating me bad, and they go, so
Mhm.
what? And you go, oh, okay, well, swipe. So, but
Yeah,
there's
and to what you said earlier, even you're not only being a role model to the kids out there, you're being a role model to the people in the gaming industry who, oh, I can leave now instead of like,
yeah,
because you're who you needed 10 years ago. Like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. Let me go out on my own
yeah.
because Tony did it.
I'm just riding the wave, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, it's about time, really,
Yeah,
really. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got a bunch of games in me. I got to get them out, kind of
yeah,
hang it out, I always I always say I escaped the plantation, um, or or I'll say I was hanging out picking somebody else's cotton. It's like I was, you know, just a week ago I was crunching. I was doing like 14 hours. It's a little
Hmm.
different when you're in your house, so but it's even more different when it's for you, right?
Yeah.
When you get up in the morning and you're staring at a screen, you're working and all that until you're basically going to fall asleep. It's
Hmm.
it's very different when it's for you because you know that
Yeah.
that blood and sweat equity is being paid back to yourself, not to
Yes.
someone else who
It's an
may or may
investment.
not appreciate, right? Because
Like
I've
it's not a loss
Yeah,
of
because I've
energy.
killed myself for places that have pretended that they cared, but
Hmm.
they don't. And that's, corporations are not people. So I
Yes.
can't I can't fault the shark for biting me when I stuck, my arm in its mouth, right? I just
Hmm.
go, well, I just won't do that anymore. So
Exactly. So can you has being black impacted your games career in any way?
maybe. Um, Probably, I mean, yeah, but probably not as much for me as others. So
Hmm.
that's what's crazy. Is like, despite politics and gibberish going on right now, we are progressing. We are
Hmm.
absolutely progressing. You get enough decades, and you go, okay, we are still moving forward, right? Um,
Yeah.
but what's crazy is, in some ways, it was easier for me than it is for others, recently or like, I feel like the early days where nobody knew who I was and what I look like,
Hmm.
that played to my advantage. Um,
Yeah.
okay, here's something funny. Okay, so everybody knows Tony Barnes, but that's not my real name.
Hmm.
So um, my my real name is actually Lavelle, and
Hmm.
part of the reason I don't use it is because people had, from a very young age, had an incredibly hard time pronouncing it. Certain people, it's phonetic.
Certain people, certain
Yeah,
people.
it's um, it's phonetic. It's love with two L's. I mean, come on,
Right.
like, so yeah, the final straw for me, because kids are cruel, so they're gonna home in on whatever, and you got a weird name, clearly
Hmm.
I'm not amongst my people who are homing in on Lavelle and calling me weird. I'm
Hmm.
I I'm the one of three black kids in the suburbs, and
Yeah.
I remember it was third grade. There was a substitute teacher. She was taking roll, and she got to me and she was like, um, "Level, Lamar, why can't you niggers have normal names?" And when you're a little, what was I, like 8 years old, after kids messing with you and all this, and then the teacher, the substitute, just
Yeah.
basically goes and does that and validates kids messing with you. Over the summer, I changed my name. Um, I used my middle name instead of, so I switched my middle name with my first name, and I've
Hmm.
been Tony or Antonio
Hmm.
Banderas ever since.
Hmm.
I am certain that Tony Barnes has gotten way more jobs than Lavelle Barnes would have gotten. I
Hmm.
am absolutely certain. I'm certain because it would have been, um, what's that name? They would have hung on the
Hmm.
name while looking at my paper, more than just looking at my paper.
Mhm.
Um, and in some ways, as pathetic as it is, also they might have even mistaken me for a woman because I've had that happen even recently. Which
Mhm.
again, like I said, Tony Barnes would have had, worked way more than Lavelle Barnes. Um, but yeah, that I so there's that. Um, I do have one fun incident. We'll change names to protect the guilty. Um, so I grew up in the Bay Area and all this stuff, and then eventually stuff was getting crazy up there, costs and traffic and
Yeah.
all that. And so I started looking around other places, and one of the places down in Texas was like, "We love you. Yeah, uh, here's a verbal offer. We're gonna fly you and your girlfriend down, and you can check out. We'll have a real estate agent, roll you around, all this fun stuff." So we go down there, and they're like the real estate agent is taking us around the places and whatever. We're already a little like kind of about because um,
Mhm.
uh, so she's white and I'm not, just in case you're wondering. Like, um, so everybody's staring at us like we're OJ and Nicole, and we could feel it. And we're like, wow, this place coming from the Bay Area, that was a lot more like, whatever, who cares, right? Um,
Yeah.
Texas in um, this was actually 99. They were like, hmm, hmm. Anyway, so we already got that vibe. Anyway, so
Right.
I go to the office to uh, do the interview, and I meet with the studio head, and he goes just straight up. He goes, "You don't look the way you sound." And I said, "Yeah, I get that a lot." Um, and then he kind of chuckled, and then we had a busy interview, and then magically the rest of the people I was supposed to meet with and actually have dinner with, um, they got sick, and so
Mm.
the rest, couldn't talk to them. It was crazy like that. So I went back to the hotel, uh, told my girlfriend at the time, said, um, have at the fridge and let's order some. It's on them. And she's like, what happened? And I'm all, I don't look the way I sound. And she's all, huh, yeah, Texas. Uh,
You're
and
right.
sorry, we're from California, so that's
Yeah.
what Texas seems like on the outside, and it didn't. It unfortunately was confirmed. So clearly, I did not get that gig, but it's
Yeah.
all good. It's all good.
They want to be there anyway.
Well, you don't want to force yourself into a hostile environment. So
Yeah.
if Homeboy had a problem, if he loves my work and love my lovely voice, but not my face, there's going to be a problem no matter
Yeah.
what, right? So I'll need to be in that anyway. And that game went on to become great, and everybody loves it. And all the games that I worked on subsequently, people really love. And I wouldn't have worked on those games had I worked on that other thing and been down in
Yeah.
Texas. Uh, so it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Plus, Homeboy
Um,
got his anyway. So
Karma. Oh man,
the
don't mess
car,
with Tony because karma always comes back around when you mess with him.
I don't know, but the Karma Police got him. They got him hardcore. They got him, but he kind of he did that to himself. Anyway,
I come in
um,
peace.
but yeah, there's incidences, whatever. I,
So, as a veteran in the games industry, what have you decided is your purpose in regard to blackness and black professionals in gaming?
I kind of think like that's what I was talking about with starting retros.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my my purpose. I I mean, I know I was born to make games. You
Yeah.
you cut me and I bleed game.
Mhm.
And so kind of keeping all of this to myself and everything.
Mhm.
I feel like I need to be Morpheus now. You know, I need to sit in my fat ass chair and spit isms, but I like to keep my swords sharp. So, you
Mhm.
know, if it comes down to it, I can get into fisticuffs too. So I feel like my purpose at this point in my career is to, you know, to represent, like I said, and
Mhm.
um, to make sure that people understand that there's a path, that there's longevity to that. There's an actual career that you can have,
Mhm.
and where I can, because I'm busy, sorry, but where I can, you know, give a hand back. I throw a line over the
Yeah.
wall. Um, you know, I go and do talks or hang out in forums and whatnot and try to help. Granted, I because of the limited time and stuff, I'm attracted to the people that I see a spark in, and I feel
Yeah.
like yeah, and that, I don't know, like that may sound like I'm not jumping on the D of somebody that's just already making it, right? Because
Yeah.
they don't need me to they don't need me to help them or tell them, you know, how to up their game or step up their setup.
Mhm.
I'm talking about the people that are on the cusp, or the people that don't
Mm.
really see it or know it or know how to get over that hump.
Yeah.
Those are the people that while I'm just sitting there talking, I'll be like, oh, okay, you know what? I'll reach out to that person, or if that person reaches out to me, I'll reach back. Um,
Yeah.
so that's that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's what's up. um, for a few more questions, shifting gears, pun intended. You're really
Hmm,
into cars, and so
this
how
is
did
true.
that start? How did that start, and which type of cars are you into?
Okay, we'll do this real fast. Funny because growing up in San Francisco in the Bay Area, you're not really into cars because there's no place to have a car. Um,
Mhm.
but I think like my first set of twins, I needed to have a car because I couldn't be like, you know, I'm not gonna have my kids on the bus and all that.
Yeah.
So, um, and I kind of liked some old muscle cars, like 66 Mustang is cool, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but I really had like a passing kind of thing for cars. Like I said, it's the city, you know, you can't have a car here. But somewhere along the lines, um, like I got this 68 GTO. That was
Mhm.
like my first car, and I was a second owner because the previous owner, well, I guess technically a third owner, but the previous
Mhm.
owner was the daughter of a dude that he worked for Pontiac, and he actually so when he passed, you know, he passed it on to his daughter. And his daughter
Mhm.
just kind of let it sit there, and the paint was all janky, and it has, you know, cobwebs on it and all that. And she was like, "I just want to get rid of this, you know." And so I got it for a dream. Um,
Nice.
and the only thing that was really wrong with it was paint. So
Mhm.
I don't know. There was something about like the freedom of the car, and then it's V8, and you know, growled and all that. And so I just kind of got into cars that way from almost necessity. It's like, what can I
Yeah.
get? And then when you start thinking about what you can get and start factoring in like your personal preferences, like, well, I like the way this looks, right?
Yeah.
Um, and my family, like my grandma had a caddy, and my mom was way into
Nice.
Pontiacs, so that was the way we were going, right? So
Mhm.
I got the muscle car, and then I was like, I like this thing. I appreciate this thing. I am going to find
Mhm.
out everything about it. Ooh, I can
Mhm.
tweak it like this. So my thing is, fast muscle cars. I like stuff that I like stuff that Batman looks like he would drive. You know. So if it's got fins and like it's pissed off, it's snarling. Those are the cars that appeal to me. You know,
Mhm.
now I know a thing or two about cars, but um, that's kind of where it started. And um, yeah, nowadays I don't drive much anyway, you know, 'cause
You're right.
COVID. But my daily is a 625 horsepower 2010 Camaro with two-tone paint. Um,
Nice.
so it like if you imagine you know, Bumblebee from the Transformers movie, but it's silver
Mhm.
with dark gray on the top and matching wheels, um, and this big ass hood. And when you start it, it sounds like a cannon goes off. Because it's supercharged. And there's not a whole lot on the road that takes it down. Um, not My biggest problem with the car is actually keeping the rubber on the road
Mhm.
because it just has so much power that the wheels. I could, I like at 80 miles an hour, chirp tires, easy.
Mhm.
Uh, got up to 155-ish, and still had plenty of power, but you know, that's theoretical. That's not real.
Theoretically. Theoretically.
Theoretically, uh, but yeah. So
I built
I
a robotic road in my garage.
yeah, yeah. It's just it's to scale, not. Yeah. But yeah. So it's a thing of mine, but not so much lately. You know,
Mhm.
and that kind of hurts. I drove my car the other
Yeah.
day, and I was like, man, I kind of miss this. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I kind of miss just anyway.
So, hopefully you can keep this part short too. You're a big Prince, a big Prince fan. I know you all are passionate about that. So,
Yeah, I'm actually yeah, I'm way more passionate about Prince than cars. Um,
so what drew
but
you
yeah,
to his music?
oh man. So here's the funny. Growing up, I was you know, of course I was a Michael Jackson fan, and
Mhm.
um, but my mother would listen to whatever was played at discos and whatnot. So
Mhm.
she would bring home vinyl and play it and dance with me, my little like 6-year-old self or whatever. So I grew up with a wide range, you know,
Mhm.
because there's like the disco and the old Motown and R&B, and what happened was bands like War and the Doobie
Mhm.
Brothers and
Mhm.
Fleetwood Mac, they started coming in.
Mhm.
So I heard more rock, and so I had these two sides where it's
Mhm.
like, you know, side from the family who's like, you know, Ella Fitzgerald and Motown and all that. And
Mhm.
then I have this other side that I'm listening to, which is like, you know, rock and blues and all that. And
Mhm.
I had a friend who was intuitive enough to say, you should listen to this new guy, Prince. And I
Mhm.
was like, no, I'm not listening to that. He's no Michael Jackson. It's this guy and his little red Corvette not having it, right? Because I think I was like 11 or something, and that
Mhm.
was not the camp I was in. Well,
Right.
so then, so then, um, the KSOL was a radio station in the Bay Area, and they were K Soul, and so a lot of times they would actually do like some of the rock stations would do, and just drop the needle, and then you know go do whatever they were doing, go in the bathroom or something. So they
Mhm.
play long versions, not just a 3 minute radio pop version.
Yeah.
So um, one day, radio station, I catch the end of the song Purple Rain, right?
Mhm.
um, and and then it just kept going, and I was listening to this like guitar and orchestra, and it was so emotional, and it's just like,
Mhm.
oh my God, who is this? My friend was like, that's Prince. So I think it was my 13th birthday. I don't know. I think it was 13th. I don't know. One of those. I get a boom box because that's what every kid
Mhm.
wanted back then. So I got this boom box from my mom, and my best friend bought me a cassette, and that cassette was the Purple Rain soundtrack.
Nice.
And I listened to it because I had it, and it was just like I was amazed. And then I just dug into crates. I just went all throughout his back catalog, all the stuff
Mhm.
that I poo-pooed on. I was like, this guy is amazing. And then he hit one of the things that like always touches me and does it for me, which is he was young.
Mhm.
His first album, he recorded by himself, all the pieces, all the parts, and engineered it when he was 19.
Mhm.
And that spoke to me because those are my kind of heroes. The people
Yeah.
that are like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it by myself. And you're not gonna stand in my way. Those are my heroes. And so from there, he became, my hero. And then getting bootlegs and B-sides and just hearing, and then the final thing was um, my best friend at the time, uh, his cousin worked security for Prince on the Purple Rain tour,
Mhm.
and so my best friend said, uh, "You want to go? You want to go to the Prince concert?" And I'm all like, "What? No, what?" He's all, "Yeah, we can get tickets, or my cousin will get us in." So got up, all right, and so and it was down here. We were up there. We were in the Bay
Mhm.
Area, but it was down here at like the Forum, I think it was,
Mhm.
in LA. And so we got on the bus and came down and
Mhm.
got our nosebleed seats, but it didn't matter
Right.
because I was at a free concert to see Prince, and that
Mhm.
concert, like as if I wasn't a fan by then, that solidified it. To see
Mhm.
him play live is it's transcendent. It's amazing to watch
Mhm.
him play and go through so many different instruments and different
Right.
styles, and you feel it. And he controlled the audience, and the band was so tight, you know.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's who I want to be.
Mhm.
That guy, you know. Anyway, I don't know if that was short, but I tried. Because
I
honestly,
mean, for a Prince fan, that is short.
I could I could seriously go on about Prince. We're not
I
in the
know
Prince
my
room.
brother. One of my brothers is a huge Prince fan, so I know.
But yeah, we're in the Tony room. So there's a bunch of Tony gibberish on the walls here, but all around the house is Prince stuff, and I have one of the
Mhm.
few signed albums of his. He signed Controversy, and my
Nice.
amazing, awesome wife got it for me one year, and she's like, "Ah, I knew I should have got the guitar." It's like, anyway.
All right, so a couple more. So you have two sets of twins, and I'm a twin. I have a twin
Oh,
brother.
awesome.
So what's the difference between going to the doctor and hearing you have twins for the first time, and then later in life going to the doctor and finding out you have a second set of twins?
That's good. Nobody's ever asked that. Usually they just go, "You got two sets of twins, what?" And then they just kind of roll on. Um, um, I don't know, like shock. I mean, it was shock. It's shock the first time, right? But
Right. Hmm.
like the second time, it's like shock and then going, um, really? Like, come on. This show needs better writers. I mean, come on.
Oh, does it run in
And
either one of your families?
No, does now.
Wow.
um, and here, um, here's the real crazy is that, um, yeah, we went, we go back for whatever for checkups, and then one time they're like, "Oh, we have two sets of twins." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, there's the older ones and then these." And they're like, "No, she's gonna have two sets of twins. You're gonna have quadruplets." But we call them two sets of twins because there's fraternal, and then there's a sac that is identical. And I was
What
just
the
like,
heck?
and I turned to my wife and I said, "I'm gonna stop coming to these things because every time I come to one of these, there's more kids." Like,
Oh my gosh. So what happened,
yeah.
like what happened to one of the sex?
Well,
Like,
so luckily nature took care of that. So we didn't have to make any hard decisions or anything like that. But
yeah.
yeah, the identicals didn't make it and just got absorbed back into the
Okay.
placenta, which if you think about it, then that means that my current set of twins ate their, yeah, anyway.
Well,
It gets,
apparently, we were supposed to be triplets, and so one of
oh, see, there you
me
go.
one of us got absorbed, and I
Yep.
think it's my brother who had he, possibly,
But yeah, so two sets of twins. Yeah, I was just like, stop, just stop. But
No
what's
more.
yeah, what's what's really interesting is uh, I don't know anything else. The same way you always know, your brother has always been there, right, from day zero.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there are people that have siblings, but they don't know because they didn't have that brother or sister from day zero. It's
Hmm.
different. And so
Yeah.
for for me, and my wife, it's like we don't know anything except for multiples. I mean,
Hmm.
we can try and relate, and we're certainly going to get pissed off when you think you can relate because you don't understand. Like, people that don't have multiples don't understand. They'll bust out with all this, like, "Oh, yeah, I have like, twins that are a year apart."
No, that's not
What?
twins.
No, no, no,
Not
no,
the
not
same.
even
Not the
9 months
same.
apart. Not the same. Um, so I don't know anything except for twins.
Hmm.
And I have a really good control group for studies. I mean, I'm not going to do any crazy Raising Cane's type studies or anything, but I got I got the older ones that are 30. They just
Hmm.
turned 30. I
Hmm.
normally don't say their age because then people can do math and figure out just how old I am. And then we have the younger ones that just turned 13. Um,
Hmm.
and
Do
you
you
can
ask for
look at them.
advice from your 30-year-old twin? Like, because like for me, going to college, like one of my cousins is like, "Oh, you got to go to the same college." I'm like, "I've been with this dude for 17 years. Why would I do that?" like heck no.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, you um, it's interesting. My older sons are now, they're some of my best friends. Like,
Hmm.
granted, we're family, so we piss each other off every once in a while and don't talk, and then we come back. But
Right.
um, but we're like good friends now because that what 18-year difference isn't as big of a deal when it's
Hmm.
48 versus 30 versus like 2 versus 20. Clearly there's an issue. So um so yeah, my older boys, Alan and William, we converse on a different level than, like,
Yeah.
I'm parenting Liam and Logan. I'm
Right.
friends with William, so it's different. Uh,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because you can sit there and you can see in you. I think every parent can kind of see themselves in their child.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have twins, you can see all kinds of things because then you can see this. You can more easily see the stuff that's not you, and
Mm-hmm.
that is from the other parent.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also, I think, help realize the stuff that's uniquely them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, we're all our own people, but
Right.
we do have some nature and nurture, so we are also our parents. Um, and if you do that twice and you give yourself a nice healthy gap, like say 17 years, you get a lot of interesting data sitting there going, well, you're just like that,
Mm-hmm.
and the both of you do this, but okay, so that means that's my fault. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I just found some footage because I did dual enrollment in high school. So I took a motion graphics class and we shot, like my classmates, we shot some footage we were creating soap opera intros. And so we just like
Uh,
shot random footage. And I found it before I moved to LA because I was going through all my DVDs and CDs and stuff like that. And there was one shot where I'm coming up the stairs and I'm like, I did like this wave up the stairs, and I'm like, oh, that's something my brother would do. Like that started when I went to college, because you're together so much you don't realize how much you're alike, and then
mhm.
sometimes you're trying not to be alike, and so when I went off to college, I would do certain things, and I'm like, oh, this is something Donnie would do. So we are twins,
Mhm. Yep,
huh?
there's that DNA.
Yeah, so I was like, and I see it a little because we are really different, but I see it a little bit. I'm like, we're like in that way.
Well, it's the thing that bonds us together, though. Makes us
Yeah.
family. So not just
Hmm.
not just family because someone said so. Like we share that. You know.
That
So.
innateness that you're like, oh man, that's just there.
Mhm.
Biology.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes you look at your parents different too.
Yeah. So last question: if you had a documentary about yourself, what things would you highlight outside of your gaming career?
Hmm. Probably my love for muscle cars, my twins, and the Prince fan.
All the stuff you asked about.
uh, yeah, I mean, I've yacked so much here that I think you've got a documentary full. um, yeah, I mean, outside of my game, like, yeah, a little bit of my family life. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not trying to be a Kardashian here, but I'll let people know what's going on, and yeah, little clips of me theoretically going triple digits in a car. That wouldn't be too bad. Uh,
You should definitely have a clip of you on the Autobahn.
Man,
Set that
yeah,
up. Get the
I was
funding.
really sad. They had the Montana bond. So here in America, in Montana,
Oh
they
man,
didn't
never
have
heard of it.
speed limits. Yeah, because it came and went. I can't remember when they decided that wasn't a good idea. But there was a time where it was basically like the Autobahn. So
Hmm.
go as fast as was it safe and prudent, is what they say. The difference is in America, um, we just don't like to follow rules. We're
Yeah,
American.
pretty
You
much.
can't tell us what
Yeah.
to do. Um,
Hmm.
See, but in Germany, they understand right of way. So if a fast ass
Yeah, because
car is coming
don't you
up
get
behind you,
kicked off? Don't you get
yeah,
kicked off the Autobahn if you don't follow the rules?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and because it can kill multiple people, right? But since
Hmm.
everybody follows the rules, they don't kill people. It's amazing. So, but here it's like, oh, I'm going to just pass on the right. No, no. You come up, you're going really fast. the person that's in the left lane understands that it's their job to get out of the way of the thing that's doing 150, right?
Yeah.
So if you go and pass on the right, you're going to crash into them because they're doing a job. Or if they are not doing their job, you're going to crash into them because they're not doing their job. So it just unfortunately can't work in America really until Americans really start understanding that some rules aren't there to oppress you. They're actually there to help.
Yeah. Well, that's never gonna happen. So
but there are, there's tracks and stuff. You can go fast. But yeah, I mean, I think the stuff that you've covered would be, the stuff outside of the games, and kudos to you for doing your research. Normally people just don't.
Yeah, I try. So how can people follow you and get updates on your games or your game currently?
No. There's, even though it's just me, there's multiple. It's just I'm
Nice.
only talking about the one right now. But yeah. So retroninja.com for all your lovely updates. There's a newsletter you can sign up for there, and there's links to Retro Ninja Games on Facebook and Retro Ninja Games on Twitter, which is actually, I think I couldn't get Retro, so it's Retro Ninja 5 on Twitter, and then Retro Ninja Games on the YouTubes and the Instagrams for all us fellow kids. Now, I don't have a TikTok. I let my actor son take care of that. One of the little ones, he's an actor, so he's all Instagram and TikTok and whatever the next thing is that comes.
Right.
I like stuff that moves a little slower.
Yeah.
Not because because like I said, I'm Gen X. I'm not like super old. It's that I don't have the time to generate the content. Like TikTok.
Yeah, you gotta be on that. It's like a full-time job.
It is, and it's just like, damn. So you'll see an update from me every once in a while, at least once a week, for certain accounts, and then like once every day or so for other things. But like TikTok is like, you got to be like boom, 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 and I don't have time to be dancing and doing voiceover and all this stuff. So sorry, there's no Retro Ninja
Fortnite
TikTok.
dances for you.
Did I? No.
All right,
I had some crafty. I had some crafty, but I'm not going to do it. So
you can be real.
I'm real. That's me.
All right.
Sometimes I think of stuff and I realize it's just too much. It doesn't matter what form; it's just too much, so I don't.
I'd like to thank you for coming to the BlkWmnAnimator YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you.
And to everyone out there, like so I know it's real. Comment and tell me how you feel. Subscribe to Seal the Deal and sign up for post notifications to show your zeal. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.